Well, certainly from the schools that we went to earlier this morning, Bradan, they share the same sentiments. They feel that, matriculants have been under a lot of pressure this year, and that the last thing that they need at this stage is to rewrite 2 exams. I am, of course, joined by the MEC of Education here in the province, Mrs. Debbie Schaefer, to get her reaction. Ms. Schaefer, first of all, your department released a statement last week saying that you are encouraging children to maybe focus on exams, and that there's a hotline that you've put forward for children to contact should they feel under any stressful situation. In terms of what is happening at this stage, what conversations are being had by your department and national?
Well, as you know, matric exams are they're a national exam, but we have had discussions with the national department last week. We had several meetings with the national minister and the other MECs, and it was a joint decision at the end of the day that in the circumstances we really didn't have a choice. Obviously, it's not something that anyone wanted, but it's too much of a risk to not rewrite now, given the fact that Umalusi has given an indication that it would be difficult for them to be able to certify the results as credible. And I know it's stressful and it's horrible and it's not fair on people who didn't cheat. But at the same time, if you can't have a credible process, you might wait until January thinking you finished your exams and then find out that the results are not declared credible. So I think for me that would be more stressful. So as stressful as it is, we are encouraging our learners just to do their very best and just to knuckle down and get it done, and finish their exam for once and for all.
Of course, the leaking of exams hasn't really affected the Western Cape, but in terms of should it be the case where there might be an exam leaked here in this province, what measures are you going to put in place?
No, we haven't had any indication that the leaks have come from our province, but we certainly have had indication that some learners in our province have been exposed to the leak, so via WhatsApp groups. We have got very strict security measures in place in the Western Cape always. We always know that things could go wrong, but there's no indication that we have had a leak from our province this time around, and I'm very happy because that hasn't happened for many, many years now. So, security measures are obviously confidential. We certainly aren't going to discuss those publicly, but so far, so good.
To some of the schools that we visited earlier, concerns are that they've had poor pass rates in terms of matriculants previously in 2019, and fears are that that can only become worse. What sort of prospects do you think that matriculants this year in the province have, and do they stand a good chance, in going to tertiary education and furthering their studies?
Look, we believe, the matrics have had the least loss of school time out of all the grades. We've, across the country, all the departments have put in place measures to make sure that the matrics came back earlier than the other grades. We said that even though schools have to rotate classes because of physical distancing measures, matrics must be at school every day. So if a person hasn't come to school, then they must take that responsibility. But we've certainly put in place many, many measures to assist them. We've put in place extra classes. We've put in place extra resources. So there isn't really any reason why they should not do well. We've given them all the opportunities, and we're really hoping that we won't do significantly worse. There may be a slight drop given the events of the year, but I'm really, really hoping not. And of course, we must also remember that there is a standardization process of every year's matriculation exam in order so that one cohort will not be substantially disadvantaged compared to others. So I hope with all those things in place, there shouldn't be too much of a difference.
Ms. Schaefer, there are concerns of a second wave here in the province, and we do know some of the schools that we spoke to certainly have struggled to get access into internet so that they can learn via the virtual space. What do you say to that? Because some of these schools that we went to are saying that they haven't been given enough access to have their children study online.
Not every school has online facilities. Of course, the second wave is not only in our province, it's in the Eastern Cape, I think even worse. But the point is that the resources that we have made available, many of them are on the e-portal, which can be accessed for free, and a lot of that is also zero rated for data purposes. But they are meant to be doing it at school anyway, and the learners are supposed to be at school even if it's every second day or every third day. There are resources available for the school to use from that portal to be able to make physical copies for the learners to give them to take home. So I'm surprised to hear that and disappointed to hear that.
Right. Very shortly, we are running out of time. Just the latest on the Brackenfell High School matter. How are investigations going?
Yes, I have received a report. I had asked a few extra questions, and I'm now busy. I will be doing a statement on it today, in fact. But all indications are exactly what we said before. It was a private event organised by a private individual because they were disappointed that their child couldn't get their matric function, which had been cancelled by the school. So obviously it's raised a lot of other issues, and those will be dealt with. But on that particular event, there is no evidence that was discrimination on the basis of race.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. Well, there you have it, Pradhan. We've heard from the MEC of Education saying that according to their investigation, there was no racism with regards to that event in Brackenfell. Of course, we've seen in the past few weeks the EFF as well as the PAC and quite a number of political parties gathered outside of the school. And many have said that this can only cause a disruption to learners from Brackenfell High School.